So really, first of all, we need to draw our attention to psychological safety. And the reason that we do that is because it's the foundation for engagement and accountability. So as leaders, we need to be really conscious and aware of this. We need to actively build it and also continue to allow it to be reinforced and established at every opportunity. It's not a set and forget process. Ultimately, when we lead from, just make sure my slides are moving. Here we go. Ultimately, when we lead from that place, when we prioritize psychological safety, we create environments, as this slide highlights, where people feel safe to speak up, ask questions, challenge the status quo at times, be really honest, without fear of blame or judgment or humiliation. And from that place, people they're more likely to want to contribute, to feel like they can contribute fully, and to then take ownership of their actions. So it's a beautiful balance between engagement and accountability. And this ultimately supports organisations and teams to work towards shared objectives and mutual purpose. From that, what we do is we can then turn our attention to, well, how do we turn vision into action? And this begins with us, begins with self as a leader. And we need to be conscious of how we turn up as leaders. How do we practice clarity, courage, and consistency? And then do the same within the systems within which we are operating. It's also asking the questions, what tools or resources or practices do we need to develop to support us so that we can be the best leaders we can be, but also support those around us to be their best? And then that ultimately supports vision turning into action because we're mobilizing all those around us. So it's very intimately connected. And then if we think about this through the lens of dare to lead and daring leadership, we begin to consider, well, how do we as leaders model the behaviour that helps us to create these environments where there's a shared responsibility, practice brave leadership, create and reinforce clarity in all that we do, and balance empathy and accountability, all with good intentions. But then the question is, well, how do we actually do it? And part of how we do it is we begin to look at strategic alignment and also how it meets brave leadership. And this is about understanding that real organisational success, it requires both clear direction and courageous leadership. And that's where those 6 questions that Phil has referred to really supports this, getting really, really clear about where we need to go and how we need to do it. But the other side of it is brave leadership. And there's been a lot of research around this because it's easy to say, well, we need brave leadership, but what is that? How do we do it? How do we bring that in everything that we do? Um, so part of the work, the Dare to Lead, so my slides are a little bit slow, is drawn, of course, on Brené Brown's work. And I'm sure most of you have heard of Brené Brown, over 2 decades of studying emotional intelligence, the whole gamut, the whole range of emotional experience, particularly courage, vulnerability, shame, and empathy through the lens of leadership. And you're probably aware of her books, her podcasts, her TED Talks. But the Dare to Lead program itself emerged from 7 years of really robust research and numerous questions that were asked consistently throughout the program or throughout the research, and in particular this one. What, if anything, about the way people are leading today needs to change in order for leaders to be successful in a complex, rapidly changing environment where we're faced with seemingly intractable challenges and an insatiable demand for innovation? It's a good question. Not an easy one to answer. However, there was one consistent answer throughout all the interviews. Does anyone have any sense of what that might be? And I've jumped. I've given you the answer. Sorry, my slides were slow, and so then no, I've jumped ahead. It's actually courage. So we need braver leaders and more courageous cultures. Yeah. So, and that's what Dare to Lead draws on. So it supports us in so many ways to be able to develop this courage. But again, it's one thing to say it, but what does it actually mean? What does it actually mean in, the way that we begin? Where do we start? And it's with this question or this recognition that our greatest leadership challenge, it's not about more skills or technical knowledge or expertise. We've got all that. We can develop that. It's about this. Our greatest challenge is ourselves spending time to recognize and answer our personal call to courage and to support those around us to do the same.